groups, but the bottom line is, I don't care what nobody say. You can't worship and serve the Lord with all your heart and be a part of this stuff. Because you know what? These things demand lordship. Because they are idols. Every fraternity and sorority has a God that rules over it. And my husband and I, we could sit down with the best of them and talk about this. Because, our children need to, listen, if they say, okay, I know what it is, and I'm going, but don't sit up and ignorantly worship nothing. Let's get that next question.
Can you hear me? When you have a Mason member, husband, in the family, do they speak over their immediate family?
Okay, you need to ask that question again. You said Mason member, husband. What does it, you mean?
Well, like if there's a family member that's a Mason and he's married with children and wife, does he speak things over his family that they're not aware of?
Well. The question was that if it's a husband that's a Mason, does he speak thing over his family? He don't have to speak thing over his family because he's his family's covering. It's just automatically so. So in other words, when this is what a lot of brothers don't understand, a lot of Masons don't understand, is the fact that the things and the oath and obligation which you pronounce on yourself, you pronounce the same thing on your wife. You pronounce the same thing on your children. That's why you can go back down the generation where his grandfather died of a stroke. The next thing you know, maybe his wife died of a stroke. Then the daughter died of a stroke or heart attack, and they're all related because of this one man ignorance to what he was saying and proclaiming over his family. And it can go generations until it stops, until the curse is broken. The thing about it is right here. That's why the enemy, targets men, because the Bible talks about a man and who he is and what he represents as in the family. So in other words, if he can get the head, then everything that the head accepts, ignorantly or knowingly or ignorantly, if he say, well, hey, this right here is going to happen to me if I do certain things. In other words, the devil don't care. He don't care what you belong to. All he wants you to do is say it out of your mouth. All he wants you to do is say these things will happen to you. And once you say it, that's why, like I said, you go back and you find out the ones that's related to you that died, 98% of them died of internal organ failure or cancer or some type of erosion of the inner body.
Okay, Dan, it's something else I want you to touch on before we get our next question. Okay, let's talk about Masonry. The roots of Masonry, they're directly related from the Bible. It comes out of the thing about Solomon's temple. Okay, but whenever there's a term called cleidomancy and bibliomancy, that means that people can use the Bible in ways that are not of God, and it's witchcraft. Okay, so we really have to deal with the roots. And while we're dealing with the roots, let's talk about the people who started these organizations. And then I just wanted you to talk a little bit about who is Alexander Crowley, and could you talk a little bit about the fathers of Masonry?
Well, Masonry, according to, in a lot of my studies, Masonry started way back during Solomon time. But the records that you will find that you can read about started when you got brick mason. You ever notice those cathedrals over in some other countries that go miles up in the air, and you wonder how in the world did somebody build something like that? Now, it started out with what you would call operative masons and speculative masons, right? Operative masons are masons that actually did the work, that actually built those edifices, actually built those things. And seeing what happened was, those masons, when they build things, they had secrets on how they would build things, on how they're able to make this peak 20 foot in the air without, they had secrets on these particular things. But then later on in the early 1600s, the English group came in, which was gentlemen, and they didn't know anything about building anything, and they are called speculative masons. And they are taught the same secrets, and then from that part, it would start off in England, and how it got to America, especially Black America, because according to the Masons in America, no slave could be a Mason. So it took a black person to go over to England and be chartered in England, which his name was Prince Hall, and then he came back to America and started the Prince Hall affiliated Masons. That's what most black Masons here in America are, Prince Hall affiliated. And that's how it basically got it works, and then it just progressed on down the line into an organization of wealth, organization of power and secrecy in every other organization, to the point where the Catholic Church banned Masons, because the Mason was infiltrating the Catholic Church, and the Pope banned them because he felt like the Mason was going to get ready to overthrow them. So it's a very powerful organization, stretched all over the world.
Amen. Let's have